How to replace electrical panel 101. First thing, you turn the power off, obviously, to the main panel. Pull these stripped out screws out. Rip that off. Now we're just going to make sure the power is dead, verify with the hot stick and the meter. And we'll start pulling breakers off. Basically, we've got 3 conduits coming in the top of this panel and 3 in the left side. One on the right side's a capacitor bank, but that's going in the trash. That kind of started the reason that I'm fixing this panel. So we're going to pull out as many wires as we can out of those conduits, make it easier to get them back in. This conduit doesn't grow. We'll just rip these out. But yeah, like I said, it's being fed from underneath, so we've got 7 conduit hits gonna go back into this panel. So right now I'm just taking notes of where everything was hooked back up and pulling it out. You see that we got stuff going from this left or time clock box into the right contactor box through the panel. So we'll just continue to rip this stuff out. Try to keep it all together so I know where it's going. I'm gonna end up putting it back together. So we're gonna loosen all the connections, loosening up the lugs for the feeders, get these lock rings off, the old beat it technique. Yeah, this thing was an old power saver we're ripping out right now. Box of snake oil, if you ask me. It started pulling so much on that 40 amp breaker, it was arcing out.
That is a giant
So it got this whole panel decided to get replaced. We're gonna start ripping the breakers out. Now with these old zinscos and this, I mean, the old way of wiring these, a lot of the times they used white for the other hot instead of running a dedicated red color. So when I cut these, I mean, this is my way of labeling it. When I cut the wires off the breakers, if it's a hot, I'm giving it a piece of tape. If it's a 2-pole, then it's getting taped together with something else. Because obviously, the neutrals are all going to go to the neutral bus anyway. So you see I'm taping a white and a black together. That's a 240 load. One of the pool motors behind me. We're just going to go ahead and continue to do this. Try to untangle as we go. But you see now I'm noticing that these were on a 2-pole breaker, but they came from different sources. So I'm going to tape them individually because even though they're on a 2-pole breaker, they're single pole loads. Now we're just going to try to get every wire free, everything loose. We got the feeder conduit getting loose. We got to get this thing out of there. Yeah, see, we're going to pull out the conduit pieces on top if we can, on the left if we can get enough wires out of there. Start pulling try to get some slack on the conduits, suck the wires out, and get this panel out of here. It's just struggle. Try not to cut the wires on all these sharp metal edges. And then once we have the feeders as the last conduit, we can easily pull that old zinsco out of there. Now the new one, first thing I do is mark the 3 top conduits, stick one in there and hold it with the lock ring while I take measurements for everything else. Because I don't want to cut the 3 top conduits. I'm going to have to cut the left and the feeder on the bottom, obviously, because the panel's a different size. But the least amount of work I can force myself to do, the better. So you see this thing's just swanging by that 1/2 inch conduit while I figure out how to mount this thing properly. Go ahead and stick some concrete fasteners in the wall. That way it no longer swangs. Just go ahead and switch bits a million times. Yeah, I think we're using blue Tapcons in this cinder block. Luckily, nothing coming through the concrete, just conduits. Now the feeder conduit coming in the bottom here actually had a connection on it, so I was able to just pull the pipe out, cut it down shorter, and then bring it up and down until I got it. I ended up adjusting this panel over like 1 inch because there's a concentric knockout on the bottom. I want to make sure I hit. But it looks like I'm trying to go above and beyond here, putting extra screws into the cinder block. Why not? Now let's just go ahead and use giant fender washers. Just give it a little pokey. And this is not the way to install plastic anchors. Tap-roo. Yeah, we're just giving it a few extra screws. Can't hurt. Probably won't help, but can't hurt. Make sure she's level. Alright, so we got the feeder conduit in there now. I get first all the top conduits. We got the first one on the right, doing the one in the middle again. I get the one on the left. Get the lock nuts nice and tight. Bam, now we'll do the left side. Some of these conduits we had to cut, of course, because the left side of the panel is a little bit longer. Yeah, luckily all these conduits originated from close by, so I was able to beat them, bend them, and cheat them a hair just to get them in. You see that one coming out of the time clock, the left side. I'm really sending her. Just cut it down a little bit. Slide the lock rings back up. Give her a little beater. Don't knock the man off the pole. Tighten up our conduit connectors. Make sure everything's tight. Now we can start chasing our grounds in to our ground bar. Just go ahead and bend them all up and out of the way. Get them back in nice and high and tight out of our way. Get them all in there. Get rid of the old impacto, schmacto. And this way, now that we have white wires with tape on them, we'll know right away, oh, if it's got a piece of tape, it's a hot, it goes on a breaker. Instead of being confused, what wire goes where, everything just has simple electrical tape bands on it. I don't need fancy labels or anything like that for this setup. Don't worry, I'll get right in the frame so you can't see what's going on. We'll tighten the lugs down on the feeders. Start sending the wires. This is probably the toughest part of this whole install, was getting those 5 12-gauge wires down that half-inch bendy windy little pipe. Start sticking single poles on there. That was so satisfying. That old Zinsco was like crispy bacon on the bussing. Bam, bam, strip those. Make sure they're on a 2-pole together. We don't want to smoke any of these pool pump motors. Man, Nipex strippers make quick work of that insulation. Get those suckers on there. Don't worry, this isn't a TikTok electric panel. I'm leaving extra slack for the next guy. Always good to leave a little extra slack. I'm not making an art project. I'm making something that functions, is going to last a long time, and has slack on it in case anything ever needs to change or something goes wrong later down the line. The last guy didn't cut all the slack off to make it look nice and pretty. Let's go ahead and finish up these breaker tightening with a screwdriver, because I don't trust impact. I like everything nice and tight. I'll strip out a lug before I let it be loose. So we got loose whites with no tape. That means those are neutrals. We'll go ahead and put our neutrals on the neutral bus. This is isolated neutral because this is a sub panel coming off a piece of gear. And just a little pool room for their pool pumps. Go ahead, get all those neutrals nice and tight with the screwdriver. Give them a little test pull with the needle nose pliers, make sure they're nice and tight. All we got left is 2-pole. Oh, no, we're snapping in single poles. Bam, make those wires up. Make sure everything's nice and tight. A million minutes later, what have we got here? Pretty sure there's a giant roach on the floor at some point. Freaked me out. Oh, I'm missing my marbles. And that's it. Now we're verifying voltage. Got the power turned back on. Verify, verify, verify. Make sure everything is how it should be before you start turning crap on. Slide that cover in there. Put the little screw in. I still got to screw the door back on. But yeah, especially with motors and 2-pole circuits, you don't want to mess something up. Send only one phase. And now I'm realizing I got to put the door on. There we go. Put a couple screws in there. Damn. Done deal. That's how you change a panel out.